Have you ever witnessed a parent, after decades of hard work and sacrifice, enter retirement with dreams of peace and fulfillment, only to find themselves ensnared in a web of regret spun from their own generosity? It's a scenario that unfolds more often than we might think. A quiet tragedy playing out in homes where love and good intentions pave a path to unforeseen hardship. Many parents, brimming with the desire to support their adult children, to stay connected, and to feel helpful, offer what they can: their time, their money, their homes, even their hard-won peace of mind. But here's a truth that often whispers too softly to be heard in the moment of giving. Not every gift blesses the giver, and some, once released, can never be reclaimed. When these offerings are made too hastily, without the robust scaffolding of healthy boundaries, they can leave a retiree feeling hollowed out, overlooked, or simmering with a quiet resentment that poisons the very relationships they sought to nurture. This isn't a discussion about withholding love or refusing to support family. Far from it. This is an exploration born from genuine concern, a deep dive into the practical wisdom needed to navigate the delicate interplay between parental generosity and self-preservation in the golden years. We're about to embark on a journey through 7 critical areas where retirees, in their noble desire to assist their offspring, might inadvertently compromise their own security, independence, and long-term well-being. These are not abstract concepts. They are tangible aspects of life that can shift from sources of comfort to causes of profound distress if not handled with foresight and care. The decisions surrounding them might appear small at the outset, a minor concession here, a helping hand there, but they possess the potential to snowball into long-term regrets when the full weight of reality settles in. If you are already embracing retirement, or if that significant life chapter is on your horizon, the insights we are about to share could be instrumental in safeguarding you from years of potential heartache, empowering you to feel more secure and serene in the life you've diligently built. Let's delve into these crucial considerations, not to foster fear, but to cultivate wisdom and strength. The sanctity of your retirement savings, a lifeline, not a gift horse. Perhaps one of the most tempting yet perilous offerings a retiree can make to an adult child is access to their retirement savings. This often begins with the purest of intentions, a heart moved by compassion. Maybe your child is weathering a fierce financial storm, a job loss, mounting debt, or the daunting prospect of a down payment on a home. The thought process is understandable. I have a nest egg, they are struggling, surely I can spare some. It feels like the right, the loving thing to do. However, a stark reality that many discover too late is that once these hard-earned funds leave your stewardship, they rarely find their way back. And when those savings dwindle, it is the retiree, not the recipient, who is left exposed to the harsh winds of financial vulnerability. Your retirement savings are not just a sum of money, they are the culmination of a lifetime. Years, often decades, of dedicated work, disciplined saving, and countless sacrifices. This financial reserve represents far more than its monetary value. It embodies your security, your peace of mind, your shield against the unforeseen. It's the bedrock that allows you to face medical emergencies without panic, to savor life's pleasures without a gnawing guilt, and to approach aging with dignity, free from the fear of becoming a financial burden on others. What many well-meaning parents tragically underestimate is the swiftness and unexpectedness with which significant expenses can arise in retirement. Medical costs, often escalating with age, urgent home repairs, or the potential need for long-term care. These are not polite callers. They arrive unannounced and frequently demand sums far exceeding initial projections. If substantial portions of your savings have already been gifted to your children, you might find yourself in the deeply uncomfortable and humbling position of needing to ask for financial assistance, a scenario that can sting with irony when you believed your future was secure. Beyond the purely financial, there's a significant emotional toll that often accompanies such transactions, even when cloaked in gratitude. If your child expressed thanks, even if they earnestly promised repayment, the dynamic between you inevitably shifts. A subtle imbalance can creep in. You might find yourself hesitating to decline future requests or feel an unspoken pressure to continue providing support, even when doing so begins to erode your own financial stability. Over time, this imbalance can quietly chip away at your sense of self-worth and strain the very fabric of the parent-child relationship. And here's a crucial distinction. Your adult children, in most cases, have a longer runway to rebuild their financial lives. They are typically still in their earning years, with opportunities for career advancement and income growth. You, on the other hand, are in a phase where the primary financial goal is preservation and enjoyment of what you've accumulated, not a frantic scramble to replace depleted reserves. Helping your child is not inherently wrong, but it demands wisdom and clearly defined limits. A one-time gift, carefully considered and genuinely affordable, is vastly different from an open-ended financial lifeline. If you choose to offer monetary assistance, ensure it is an amount you can truly afford to part with permanently without jeopardizing your own long-term security. Crucially, never ever relinquish your financial safety net, because once that vital protection is gone, the first and most profound impact will be felt not by your child, but by you. That was our first deep dive into the complexities of retirement finances. If you found this initial point about safeguarding your retirement savings a valuable reminder or a new perspective, please let us know by commenting with the number 1 below. Your engagement helps us understand what resonates most with you. 2. Your home, an anchor of security, not a bargaining chip. There's a pervasive and often misguided notion among some retirees that transferring ownership of their home to their children while they are still living is a sagacious and generous act. The motivations can vary: a desire to shield their children from future inheritance taxes, an attempt to simplify estate matters, or simply a gesture of profound love. However, relinquishing ownership of your primary residence during your lifetime is one of the most misunderstood and potentially precarious decisions a parent can make, leading to regrets that can cast a long shadow over their retirement years. Your home is far more than bricks and mortar. It is your sanctuary, your anchor in a changing world. It's the physical space where you feel most secure, where your daily rhythms are established, and where decades of precious memories are interwoven with the very walls. Once your name is removed from the title deeds, you effectively surrender legal, emotional, and practical control over this vital asset. You've handed over a cornerstone of your security. Consider the what-ifs that are often dismissed until they become harsh realities. What happens if your child encounters severe financial difficulties and the home, your home, becomes entangled in a creditor's lawsuit or, in a worst-case scenario, is lost to bankruptcy? What if they go through a divorce and suddenly the residence becomes a contentious piece in a messy legal battle you never anticipated? Or, on a less dramatic but equally impactful note, what if your child, now the legal owner, decides to sell the property, rent it out to tenants you don't know, or move in additional family members, all without your full consent or against your deep-seated wishes? These are not far-fetched melodramas. They are real-life situations that occur with unsettling frequency. Once your name is no longer on that deed, your power to prevent or influence these outcomes diminishes significantly, if not entirely. Even with the most trustworthy and loving children, life is unpredictable. Their circumstances can change, their financial situations can become complicated, and what was once unequivocally your haven can transform into a place where you no longer feel you fully belong. That intrinsic sense of control, of agency, the simple yet profound ability to say, "This is my home, and I determine what happens within its walls." Once that is gone, it is incredibly challenging to reclaim. Furthermore, there's a practical aspect that often surprises many. Transferring your home can, in some jurisdictions and circumstances, trigger unintended tax consequences or adversely affect your eligibility for crucial long-term care benefits like Medicaid. What was intended as a protective measure can morph into a bureaucratic labyrinth or a financial trap that ultimately harms both you and your child. It's crucial to understand that there are far safer, more strategically sound methods for estate planning that allow your children to inherit the home eventually, but without you sacrificing control and security during your lifetime. Legal instruments such as a revocable living trust, a qualified personal residence trust, or a life estate, crafted with the guidance of an experienced elder law attorney, can often achieve the desired outcome with significantly less risk. Your home is more than mere property. It's the foundation upon which much of your daily life and emotional well-being rests. After retirement, this foundation should never be casually given away to keep the peace, speed things up, or simply because it seems like a common practice. Once it's out of your hands, you may find you no longer have the ultimate say in how the rest of your life unfolds within its familiar embrace. This discussion about home ownership is so critical for long-term security. What are your thoughts on protecting this vital asset in retirement? Share your opinion by commenting with the keyword home security below. And if you're gaining value from this in-depth analysis, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel. Don't forget the notification bell so you won't miss our future content designed to empower and inform. Number 3, preserving your autonomy, the double-edged sword of full legal control. One of the most sensitive and consequential areas where retirees may inadvertently cede too much, too soon, involves handing over complete legal control, such as a general durable power of attorney for finances or healthcare, without meticulously defined boundaries and safeguards. This transfer of authority often stems from a place of profound trust. You naturally believe your child will always act in your best interests, and you wish to simplify matters should a time come when you are genuinely unable to manage your own affairs. However, when full unrestricted control is granted prematurely or too loosely, it can pave the way for outcomes that are not only difficult to reverse, but can also deeply undermine your sense of autonomy. A power of attorney is an undeniably important estate planning tool. It empowers a designated individual, your agent, to make critical decisions on your behalf if you become incapacitated. But here lies a crucial detail many overlook. Unless specified otherwise, as in a springing power of attorney that only activates upon proven incapacity, a general power of attorney can often be utilized by the agent at any time after it's signed, not solely during an emergency or period of incapacitation. This means your child could, legally, access your bank accounts, make significant financial transactions, or communicate medical decisions on your behalf, even if you are still fully lucid and capable of making those choices yourself. In the vast majority of cases, this authority is exercised with love, diligence, and genuine care. But, regrettably, this is not always the case. And even when intentions are impeccable, misunderstandings and misalignments can occur. Imagine a scenario. You express a desire to delay a particular medical procedure, wanting more time to consider options, only to discover that a decision has already been made and communicated by your agent. Or perhaps you notice financial transactions you didn't authorize, funds shifted between accounts, or bills paid in a manner contrary to your usual practices. It isn't always driven by malicious intent. Sometimes it's a case of an overzealous agent helping in ways they deem best, or a simple misinterpretation of your wishes. But once someone holds that sweeping authority, it's remarkably easy for the reins of your own life to slip from your grasp. The emotional cost of such disempowerment can be just as significant as any financial mishap. When you no longer feel like the primary architect of your own choices regarding your health, your finances, and your future, it can erode your confidence and your sense of independence. You might begin to second-guess whether your opinions still carry weight, or worse, you might gradually stop voicing them altogether. This is not a position any parent should find themselves in, especially after a lifetime spent capably managing their own affairs. If you do choose to grant your child legal authority, proceed with caution and deliberation. Consult with an experienced elder law attorney who can help you structure these documents in a way that protects your interests comprehensively. You can, for instance, opt for a springing power of attorney, which only becomes effective upon the certification of your incapacity by one or more physicians. You can also clearly delineate and limit the powers granted, or appoint co-agents or a successor agent to create a system of checks and balances. These conversations with your children and legal counsel may not be easy, but they are profoundly necessary. You deserve to be supported in your decisions without being overruled. You deserve assistance without surrendering your fundamental right to self-determination. And a child who genuinely cares for your well-being will understand and respect the need for such prudent measures. This isn't about fostering mistrust. It's about exercising wisdom. You have navigated a lifetime of decisions. Retirement is not the juncture to completely hand over the steering wheel. It is, however, the perfect time to install robust safeguards, ensuring your voice remains the guiding force on your journey, every step of the way. Do you have any experiences with setting up powers of attorney, either for yourself or for a loved one? What lessons did you learn? Don't hesitate to share your story or insights in the comments section. We learn so much from each other's experiences. 4. The grandparent trap, when cherished moments become an unspoken obligation. Upon retiring, many individuals find themselves joyfully stepping into the role of grandparent, And one of the most common yet insidious traps they can fall into is becoming the family's de facto full-time unpaid childcare provider. It almost invariably begins with love and enthusiasm, watching the grandkids for a few hours here and there, helping out during a school holiday, filling in when regular daycare arrangements fall through. Initially, it feels deeply rewarding. You feel needed, useful, perhaps even honored to be so intimately involved in your grandchildren's lives, fostering precious bonds. However, over time, what starts as occasional, voluntary assistance can subtly morph into an expectation, then crystallize into a regular routine, and ultimately settle into a quiet, unspoken obligation that you never consciously or fully agreed to undertake on such a scale. What makes this particular dynamic so tricky is that it doesn't always feel like you're giving something away in the tangible sense, like money or property. But what you are indeed surrendering, often without full realization until much later, is your invaluable time, your personal freedom, your finite energy, and critically, your opportunity to experience and shape your retirement according to your own dreams and desires. Slowly, insidiously, your personal calendar ceases to be truly your own. Your days become dictated by nap schedules, school pickups and drop-offs, meal preparations for little ones, and the constant, often exhausting demands of supervising active children. Resentment may not surface immediately. In fact, the joy of being with grandchildren can mask the encroachment for a considerable time. But eventually, the cumulative weight of always being on call, of having your personal plans consistently deferred or disrupted, can begin to wear you down. What exacerbates the situation is that extricating yourself or even scaling back your involvement can become increasingly difficult as time goes on. By then, your adult children may have grown accustomed to your consistent help. The entire family rhythm and financial planning might have adjusted around your availability. Consequently, when you finally express a need for a break, state that you're feeling too tired or make plans for your own pursuits. It can be met with surprise, disappointment, or even subtle guilt tripping. This isn't necessarily a reflection of your children's selfishness, but rather the natural outcome of boundaries that were never clearly articulated or mutually agreed upon from the outset. Retirement is not an endless expanse of free time and boundless energy. It is the hard-earned reward for decades of labor and commitment, and it is fundamentally yours to design and enjoy. This doesn't preclude helping with grandchildren. Far from it. It simply means that you retain the right to decide how much, when, and under what conditions you offer that help. Watching your grandchildren should be a source of joy, not a relentless job. It should feel like a choice, not an assignment. If it begins to feel like the latter, it's a clear signal that a rebalancing is urgently needed. Adult children, often caught in the whirlwind of their own careers and parenting responsibilities, may not fully appreciate how physically and emotionally demanding full-time caregiving can be for someone in their retirement years. They might operate under the assumption that since you're retired, you must have the time. But available time and available energy, particularly the kind needed for active childcare, are not synonymous. As you age, the need for rest, self-care, and personal space to pursue hobbies, travel, or simply relax becomes more, not less, important. It is perfectly acceptable, and indeed healthy, to protect these aspects of your life. It is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect and self-preservation. The strongest and healthiest relationships between retired parents and their adult children are built on a foundation of mutual respect, open communication, and acknowledged boundaries, not on silent sacrifice that breeds underlying resentment. If you wish to be involved in your grandchildren's lives, and what grandparent doesn't, do so with joy, but also with clearly defined limits. Establish set days or hours, communicate your availability honestly, and learn to say no when you need to, without succumbing to guilt. When you conscientiously guard your time, your energy, and your freedom, you are not only protecting your own well-being, but you are also modeling a powerful lesson for your children and grandchildren about the enduring importance of self-respect and balance, even within the context of deep familial love. This point about grandparenting and boundaries is so relatable for many. If you found these insights on balancing family help with personal time in retirement helpful, please comment with the number 4 below. We appreciate knowing you're with us. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe and click the notification bell. Your support truly helps us create more content like this. Number 5, the unseen inheritance, shielding your children from your debts. One of the most distressing and burdensome legacies a parent can unintentionally leave behind is their personal debt, especially when structured in such a way that it transfers directly or indirectly to their children. You might understandably think, my debts are my own responsibility. I'll manage them. And in many instances, this holds true. However, depending on how financial accounts are set up, particularly with co-signed loans, joint credit facilities, or certain types of inherited obligations, your children could find themselves legally or at the very least emotionally and administratively encumbered by debts they never personally incurred or agreed to shoulder. Let's begin with a scenario that occurs more frequently than many realize. Co-signing. Perhaps years ago, in an effort to help your child establish credit or secure a loan for a car or education, you co-signed on their behalf. Or conversely, perhaps your child, out of love and a desire to assist you, co-signed on one of your financial obligations. Once two names are on an account, that debt becomes a shared liability. If you were to become seriously ill, fall behind on payments due to diminished income in retirement, or pass away with an outstanding balance, the full financial and legal weight of that debt can swiftly and often unexpectedly shift entirely to the co-signer, your child. This can come as a devastating shock, particularly during a time of grief or when they are grappling with your declining health. Even in situations where your child isn't legally obligated to repay your personal debts. For example, most unsecured credit card debt held solely in your name typically does not pass directly to heirs. The emotional and administrative strain can be immense. The process of sorting through a deceased parent's financial affairs, dealing with piles of bills, official-looking notices from creditors, and making countless phone calls can be overwhelming, time-consuming, and frankly, feel deeply unfair. Instead of having the space to grieve and focus on cherished memories or the practicalities of settling other aspects of your estate, they can be forced into a stressful and often confusing tangle of financial cleanup. If your financial records were not meticulously organized and easily accessible, this confusion can escalate, potentially leading to tension between siblings, surviving spouses, or even causing significant internal stress for the child tasked with resolving these matters. Another frequently overlooked area is medical debt. While the rules vary by jurisdiction and the specifics of your estate, you might assume that medical bills simply vanish upon death. However, outstanding medical balances can, and often do, make a claim against your estate. This means that assets you hope to leave behind for your loved ones, a home, a savings account, even items of sentimental value, could be diminished or entirely consumed by settling these debts before any inheritance can be distributed. All of this complexity and potential financial erosion ultimately falls upon the shoulders of the people you love most during what is already a challenging emotional period. What makes addressing debt so difficult is that it often carries a heavy cloak of shame or embarrassment. You may be reluctant to discuss your financial situation openly, even with those closest to you. But silence in this regard only compounds the potential problems. The earlier you are honest with yourself, and perhaps with a trusted financial advisor or a discreet family member about your debt situation, the more proactive steps you can take to mitigate the long-term impact on your children. There are concrete actions you can implement now. Scrupulously avoid co-signing new loans for your children or having them co-sign for you, unless absolutely unavoidable and after thorough legal and financial counsel. Review your existing credit lines. Cancel any unused credit cards to reduce temptation and potential for future debt. Develop a realistic plan to pay down or consolidate existing debts. Perhaps most importantly, ensure your financial affairs are well organized and that you leave clear, accessible instructions regarding your assets, liabilities, and any arrangements you've made for debt settlement, such as life insurance policies earmarked for this purpose. Your children don't expect a flawless financial legacy, but you owe it to yourself and to them to strive to release them from hidden or avoidable burdens. The fewer financial loose ends you leave behind, the lighter their load will be, and the greater peace of mind both you and they will experience. You've given them life, unwavering support, and boundless love. Don't inadvertently bequeath them the unnecessary stress of untangling your debts. Addressing this now is an act of profound care, not just for their sake, but for your own legacy of peace. Financial planning in retirement can be complex, especially concerning debt. If this section on managing debt to protect your children has given you food for thought, please share your biggest takeaway by commenting with the keyword debt-free legacy. We value your input immensely. 6. Your living space, your rules, guarding autonomy in your daily life. One of the most subtle, yet profoundly impactful ways in which retirees can experience a loss of independence is by surrendering control over their living arrangements, where they live, and crucially, how they live within that space. This shift often begins with a well-intentioned suggestion from an adult child. Mom, Dad, why don't you move closer to us? It would be so much easier for us to help. Or wouldn't it be simpler if you just moved in with our family? On the surface, these propositions can sound thoughtful, practical, and even comforting, especially if you're facing health challenges or the prospect of living alone. However, what frequently goes unsaid and unexamined are the nuanced ways in which such arrangements, if not carefully navigated, can gradually erode your sense of freedom, personal dignity, and everyday choice. When you relinquish significant say over your living environment to your child, you may also, by extension, give up a degree of control over your daily rhythms and personal preferences. You might find yourself subtly or not so subtly adjusting to their family's established routines, their dietary habits, their social schedules, and the overall dynamics of their household. Perhaps your favorite armchair, a source of comfort for years, doesn't quite fit in their decor. Maybe you feel a sense of awkwardness or hesitation about walking into the kitchen at certain times, or using shared spaces as freely as you once did in your own home. You might even catch yourself unconsciously seeking permission or approval for activities and choices you've made independently for decades. That deeply ingrained sense of home, the feeling of a personal sanctuary where you can unequivocally be yourself without apology or explanation, can quietly begin to fade. Even the decision to move into a new residence chosen for you by your child, be it a smaller apartment, a specific retirement community, or an assisted living facility, can feel like a profound loss if it wasn't a decision you actively participated in and genuinely consented to. You might outwardly agree, perhaps to avoid appearing ungrateful or burdensome, or because you feel pressured by circumstances. But as the weeks and months unfold in this new environment, a quiet sadness or a sense of displacement may begin to creep in. You might find yourself missing your old garden, the familiar faces of your former neighbors, the simple independence of your previous life, or the unique way you had arranged your personal belongings. Sometimes your child, in their sincere effort to help, may not even realize the extent of what has been taken away from your perspective. They believed they were providing a solution, but the cost to your identity and sense of agency can be enormous. This is not an argument against accepting necessary help or making practical adjustments as you age. Rather, it's a call to fiercely protect your voice and your right to self-determination in matters as fundamental as where and how you live. You have every right to decide the environment that best suits your needs and preferences, how you wish to decorate and personalize your space, who you invite into your home, and what routines and activities shape your day. Even if you require physical assistance or support, you still deserve emotional agency and respect for your autonomy. Your home, whether it's a sprawling house or a cozy room, whether entirely private or part of a shared living arrangement, should, as much as humanly possible, reflect your choices, your personality, and your comfort, not just your perceived limitations. The danger of ceding too much control over your living situation isn't always immediately apparent. Initially, the new arrangement might seem perfectly fine, even beneficial. But over time, you might find yourself increasingly avoiding potential conflicts, staying silent when something bothers you, or feeling more like a guest in what is ostensibly your living space. This isn't genuine peace. It's often a state of quiet resignation or suppressed resentment, which, in the long run, can eat away at your confidence and overall well-being. If living with your child or in a child-chosen environment works harmoniously for everyone involved and was a decision you genuinely embraced, then that is a wonderful outcome. However, if it was a choice made for you rather than by you, or if the reality of the arrangement is proving detrimental to your spirit, it may be time to courageously and respectfully revisit the conversation. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to express a preference for staying in your own place for as long as feasible, with appropriate supports. You are allowed to state your desire to explore a wider range of housing options that align more closely with your vision for your retirement. And you do not need to excessively justify these fundamental desires. You've earned the right to them. Ultimately, your living arrangements should be supportive, not suffocating. They should honor who you are as an individual, not just cater to what you might need physically. After all, the years you've spent building a life on your own terms, you deserve a space where you continue to feel fully and freely yourself without apology. This topic of living arrangements touches on such personal aspects of independence. If you found our discussion on maintaining control over your living space insightful, please let us know by commenting with the number 6 below. We're glad to have you on this journey of discovery. And a friendly reminder, if you're finding this content valuable, supporting the channel by liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell allows us to continue bringing you thoughtful analysis and practical advice. Nub 7. Your inner sanctuary, protecting your peace of mind above all else. This final, and arguably most crucial, point transcends the tangible realms of money, property, or physical arrangements. It delves into the sacred landscape of your inner world, your calm, your ability to sleep soundly, your capacity to greet each morning with a sense of equanimity and contentment with your life. Far too often, after retiring, individuals unwittingly surrender this precious peace of mind. And the primary way this occurs is by shouldering the full weight of their adult children's problems, anxieties, and dramas as if they were their own. You may believe you're simply fulfilling the role of a good, caring parent, listening intently, offering advice, stepping in to mediate disputes, or providing a financial or emotional cushion when they stumble. There is, however, a critical and often blurred line between being lovingly supportive and becoming completely consumed by their struggles. When you consistently carry your adult child's stress, their marital conflicts, their career anxieties, their financial woes, their interpersonal dramas, you are, in effect, slowly trading your own hard-won peace for their ongoing chaos. After a while, you may find yourself waking up feeling tired and heavy, not necessarily because of your age or physical ailments, but because your mind, even in sleep, never truly got a chance to rest from the vicarious burden of worry. Peace of mind in your later years is not a luxury. It is a fundamental component of a fulfilling retirement, something you have unequivocally earned through a lifetime of effort, challenges, and perseverance. You have weathered enough storms. You are allowed to exist in a state relatively free from constant, acute worry. However, protecting this inner sanctuary requires the conscious and consistent application of healthy emotional boundaries. You can love your children deeply, profoundly, and unconditionally, and still say, with gentle firmness, this is a challenge that you, as a capable adult, need to navigate and resolve. You can offer a compassionate ear without feeling compelled to fix every problem. You can provide support and encouragement without sacrificing your own emotional well-being on the altar of their difficulties. Some parents feel a pang of guilt when they begin to establish such emotional boundaries, as if they are somehow failing in their parental duty. But this guilt is often just misdirected love, a love that hasn't yet learned the vital skill of self-protection. The truth, which can be hard to internalize, is that you are not truly helping your adult child develop resilience or problem-solving skills by perpetually absorbing all their pain or rushing in to rescue them from every consequence. In some instances, you may inadvertently be hindering their growth, preventing them from developing the very strength and resourcefulness they need to navigate the complexities of life on their own terms. There is a unique and profound wisdom that often blossoms with age. A realization that not every distressed phone call needs to be answered immediately with a flurry of intervention. Not every problem presented to you is yours to solve. And not every tear shed by your child must become your personal burden to carry. This perspective doesn't render you cold or uncaring. It makes you centered, discerning, and emotionally sustainable. It allows you to choose peace, not as an act of passive withdrawal, but as an active affirmation of your own well-being. After retirement, your peace of mind should be treated as a non-negotiable asset, a treasure to be fiercely guarded. Never ever feel apologetic or selfish for prioritizing it, for keeping it close and nurturing it daily. Because if there is one thing in this life that cannot be easily bought, readily replaced, or quickly rebuilt once shattered, it is that quiet, steady internal sense of being fundamentally okay, regardless of the storms that may rage in the world outside of you. That inner peace is, in itself, a vital part of your legacy, too. The journey to protecting peace of mind is ongoing. What practices or mindset shifts have helped you or do you think could help you maintain your inner calm amidst family concerns? Share your wisdom in the comments. Your experience could be a beacon for someone else. As we draw this comprehensive discussion to a close, I want to leave you with a core message, a distillation of all we've explored. Retirement is not merely a cessation of work. It is, or should be, the commencement of a new, vibrant chapter that belongs wholly and unequivocally to you. Yet, too often, in the earnest and understandable desire to continue being a good parent, retirees find themselves giving away far more than they can sustainably afford, be it financially, emotionally, or in terms of personal freedom. And the true cost of these well-intentioned sacrifices sometimes doesn't become painfully clear until it's too late to easily reverse course. The 7 areas we've examined, your retirement savings, the ownership of your home, control over your legal and medical decisions, your precious time and energy, especially concerning childcare, the burden of debt, autonomy over your living arrangements, and ultimately your irreplaceable peace of mind, are far more than just abstract items on a cautionary list. They represent the very pillars of your independence, your happiness, your security, and your dignity in this significant season of life. Once these foundations are compromised or relinquished without careful consideration, rebuilding them can be an arduous, if not impossible, task. This understanding does not advocate for a cessation of love or support for your children. Instead, it calls for a recalibration, a more profound and sustainable form of love, one that includes loving and prioritizing yourself with equal measure. Setting healthy boundaries is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of profound wisdom and foresight. The more you honor your own needs, protect your hard-won assets, and safeguard your well-being, the more effectively you model strength, resilience, and self-respect, the very qualities your children will undoubtedly need as they navigate their own life journeys. Retirement is a precious gift, a culmination of a life's work, but its true value can only be fully realized if you actively protect it, nurture it, and shape it according to your own aspirations. So, do not allow guilt to be your primary motivator in decision-making. Do not feel compelled to apologize for choosing peace, for safeguarding your resources, or for prioritizing your well-being. You have unequivocally earned the right to live these years on your terms with joy, security, and serenity. Thank you for joining us today for this in-depth exploration. We genuinely hope these insights provide you with valuable perspectives and practical tools. We would be honored to hear from you. Please leave a comment below sharing one key insight you've gleaned from our discussion today, and perhaps how you envision applying it in your own life or in advising others. Your thoughts, experiences, and reflections are immensely important to us and to our community. Reading your comments provides us with great motivation and encouragement. If you found this article insightful and helpful, please demonstrate your support by hitting the like button, subscribing to our channel, and crucially, turning on the notification bell. This ensures you won't miss out on future content designed to inform, inspire, and empower you. Your engagement helps us immensely in our mission to continue creating valuable and thought-provoking material. Thank you for your time and attention, and we eagerly look forward to welcoming you back for our next video.